Letter to Raleigh and commendatory poems, etc., prefixed to the Faerie Queene. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Thomas Copeland. Letter of the author's expounding his whole intention in the course of this work, which, for that it giveth great light to the reader, for the better understanding is hereunto annexed. To the right noble and valorous Sir Walter Raleigh, Knight, Lord Warden of the Stannaries, and Her Majesty's Lieutenant of the County of Cornwall. Sir, knowing how doubtfully all allegories may be construed, and this book of mine, which I have entitled The Faerie Queene, being a continued allegory or dark conceit, I have thought good, as well for avoiding of jealous opinions and misconstructions, as also for your better light in reading thereof, being so by you commanded, to discover unto you the general intention and meaning, which in the whole course thereof I have fashioned, without expressing of any particular purposes or by accidents therein occasioned. The general end, therefore, of all the book is to fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtuous and gentle discipline, which, for that I conceived should be most plausible and pleasing, being coloured with an historical fiction, the which the most part of men delight to read, rather for variety of matter than for profit of the ensample, I chose the history of King Arthur as most fit for the excellency of his person, being made famous by many men's former works, and also furthest from the danger of envy and suspicion of present time, in which I have followed all the antique poets historical, first Homer, who in the persons of Agamemnon and Ulysses hath ensampled a good governor and a virtuous man, the one in his Ilias, the other in his Odysseys. Then Virgil, whose like intention was to do in the person of Aeneas. After him Ariosto comprised them both in his Orlando, and lately Tasso dissevered them again, and formed both parts in two persons, namely, that part which they in philosophy called Ethike, or virtues of a private man, coloured in his Rinaldo, the other named Politicae in his Godfredo. By ensample of which excellent poets, I labour to portrait in Arthur, before he was king, the image of a brave knight, perfected in the 12 moral virtues, as Aristotle hath devised, the which is the purpose of these first 12 books, which if I find to be well accepted, I may be perhaps encouraged to frame the other part of politic virtues in his person, after that he came to be king. To some, I know, this method will seem displeasant, which had rather have good discipline delivered plainly in way of precepts, or sermoned at large, as they use, than thus cloudily enwrapped in allegorical devices. But such, meseems, should be satisfied with the use of these days, seeing all things accounted by their shows, and nothing esteemed of that is not delightful and pleasing to common sense. For this cause Xenophon preferred before Plato, for that the one in the exquisite depth of his judgment formed a commonwealth such as it should be, but the other in the person of Cyrus and the Persians fashioned a government such as it might best be. So much more profitable and gracious is doctrine by example than by rule. So have I laboured to do in the person of Arthur, whom I conceive, after his long education by Timon, to whom he was by Merlin delivered to be brought up, so soon as he was born of the Lady Igraine, to have seen in a dream or vision the Faerie Queene, with whose excellent beauty ravished, he awaking resolved to seek her out. And so, being by Merlin armed, and by Timon throughly instructed, he went to seek her forth in Fairyland. In that Faerie Queene I mean glory in my general intention, but in my particular I conceive the most excellent and glorious person of our sovereign the Queen, and her kingdom in Fairyland. And yet in some places else I do otherwise shadow her. For considering she beareth two persons, the one of a most royal queen or empress, the other of a most virtuous and beautiful lady, this latter part in some places I do express in Belphoebe, fashioning her name according to your own excellent conceit of Cynthia, Phoebe and Cynthia being both names of Diana. So in the person of Prince Arthur I
Sample complete. Ready to continue?